can fly, you can reach the other side of the rainbow.
Howdy out there, and welcome to yet another installment of Pointless Pitches, the show where I take a game series and or single game and turn it into a TV show and or streaming service show. Today we'll be doing something a little bit different from the previous couple videos, as this is going to be part 1 in a series adapting several games into a single season of a TV show. Specifically, we are going to be adapting Sonic the Hedgehog. And say what you will about Sonic, but he has been through a lot of TV show iterations, including stuff ranging from Sat AM to The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog to more modern stuff like Sonic Boom, Sonic X, and Sonic Prime, which I still have not seen any episodes of. With that all said, today we'll only be covering 4 games, condensed down into 2 seasons, and those are the classic games: Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic CD. All that said, let's get right into it. Alrighty, in terms of the premise for the series, we've got to clear up a few things first. For one thing, we are going to have to normalize the world, as it were. For those of you who haven't played certain Sonic games, there is kind of a dividing line in the series between the classic and the 3D games, one of the biggest aspects of which is that normal humans start popping up in the 3D games aside from the main villain, Dr. Eggman. This is a problem because it kind of destroys some world building. So pretty much all that I'm going to say on this front is that we are going to be changing all of the humans into anthropomorphic animals like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, all of that. Continuing on, that'll just basically mean that whenever we get to an adventure game, instead of looking like this, they'll look like this. That's really all that needs to be said for the overall premise of the series. So with the rest of it, we can really focus in on when we get to the individual seasons. So first up, we're going to be starting with Sonic the Hedgehog, characterizing him. As a character, Sonic is, generally speaking, a really cool character. But there have been a lot of different interpretations of that character. The Sonic movie portrayed him as looking for a place to belong, which, no shade against the movie, I actually really like it, but that always rubbed me the wrong way. So the direction we're going to be going in is Sonic is a character always looking for the next adventure, but still always ready to lend a helping hand to anyone he comes across. Kind of like Robin Hood in the original Tales of Robin Hood. He's a canonical busybody who is always willing to help people out and get involved in their business, assuming they're a decent enough person, but always looking for the next adventure. Now, something that needs to be said is Sonic games have an excellent soundtrack. And so I thought that giving each character a unique theme for themselves would be a good idea. And I decided to pull them all from Sonic games themselves. And this video, it's going to be incredibly basic. And you'll understand why when you hear the first theme, but for Sonic's theme, I picked It Doesn't Matter by Tony Harnell. Here, take a listen.
Don't criticize. I'm just living by my own feelings, and I won't give in, won't compromise.
Next we have Tails. And in the games, Tails is characterized as a genius little kid, but also Sonic's little buddy, his little brother. The constant tag along. And we can keep that for the most part, but as the series goes on, he'll need to develop beyond that point, become a bit more independent, butt heads with Sonic a lot more, make his opinion known, and that'll give us access to a lot more character interactions that differ across the series. Next up, for his song, I once again went back to Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and picked Believe in Yourself for Tails. So let me know what you think in the comments, but take a listen first. Next up, we've got Amy Rose. This is the character I think I'm going to get the most flack for, as well as being the character that I had to change the second most. We'll get to the one I had to change the most later on. But, in my defense, Amy Rose has had a lot of characterizations over the years, potentially more than Sonic himself has had. In the Fleetway comics, she was a resistance leader. In the games, she's the obnoxious fangirl. In the more modern games, she's taken a chill pill. In the Sonic Boom series, however, she is a lot more of a smart aleck, and a lot shyer about her feelings for Sonic. And that's roughly where I based the characterization off of. She's going to be her own character first and foremost, as opposed to the obsessive fangirl. Thus, I decided to make her relationship with Sonic, while highlighted, a bit more downplayed than most other iterations, and in addition to that, she will not be afraid to speak her mind to Sonic and tell him, yeah, no, you're wrong. In terms of a theme, I decided to go with Follow Me from Sonic Heroes. I considered going with My Sweet Passion, but I think Follow Me fits better. So, here you go.
Lately I just feel so fine. I imagine that you're mine. In my world you're gold. I only wanna protect you. Whenever I get. I want a shooting star. Whatever I need, I have when I'm with you.
Next, we have Knuckles, and he's the character who, across most of the iterations of the Sonic story, I have had the most problem with the adaptations. The only one that I think really gets it is Sonic 2, the movie, which pretty much characterized him as, he's not an idiot, he's just uncultured and a bit too trusting, and a bit too focused on a single goal. And that's pretty much what we've got for the character in this. A character who initially is so focused on the goal of protecting the Master Emerald that he can't notice how shady Eggman is. And as for his theme, I tried to find an alternative for his first appearance in Season 2, but I couldn't. So we're going with Unknown from me, which is my second favorite song in the entirety of Sonic Adventure 2. Take a listen.
Here I come, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather. You can call me Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. I'd rather flex my muscles. I'm hard as nails. It ain't hard to tell. I break them down whether they solid or frail. Unlike the rest, I'm independent since my first breath. First test, feel the right, then the worst left. Born on an island in the heavens. Blood of my ancestors flows inside me. My duty is to save the flower.
Next up, we've got the egg himself, Eggman. The Good Doctor has, while gone through certain iterations throughout the years, he has mostly remained the same, and we're also going to be doing that here. His primary character trait is his ego. He's super smart, incredibly technically sound, and he knows it. He wants to rule the world because he, in his mind, believes he's the best man for the job. What can you do to make yourself better than him? In the end, that ego always ends up being his downfall, whether he is using an item that he probably shouldn't, but he thinks he can handle it, or just in general not looking into all the possibilities because I've dealt with enough things. I'm good on this front. But as for his theme, I once again decided to go to Sonic Adventure 2, specifically Eggman. That's literally the song title. And, I mean, just listen to it. It's a power ballad glorifying the Good Doctor, and it sounds like he wrote it himself. Just listen.
The story begins with who's gonna win, knowing the danger that lies within. A boy, the arc, a genius at heart, wanting to unlock the mysteries of life. I am the Eggman, that's what I am. I am the Eggman, I got the master plan.
Next up, we've got Metal Sonic, and his character is quite simple. He is the exact opposite of Sonic. Where Sonic is loud and boastful, Metal Sonic is extremely quiet and reserved, at least until Sonic Heroes. But at the same time, he's a lot more similar to Sonic than it first appears. He's very confident, very competitive. He wants to beat Sonic more than anything. Something that happened in the IDW comics was that Metal Sonic couldn't talk. Here he'll be able to talk, but he does it extremely rarely. Again, until the Sonic Heroes season. And as for the theme, call me basic, but I went with What I'm Made Of from Sonic Heroes. So, here, have a listen.
I don't care what you're thinking as you turn to me, 'cause what I have in my two hands is enough to set me free. I can fight
Next, we have Fang, the Sniper, or Knack the Weasel, depending on your persuasion. And this is the character I had to change the most. He's also the character who's not getting a theme, since he's mostly just a supporting character who won't appear all that much in the series itself. I figured adding him in this video to set up some stuff for later, and just to keep him around and give Eggman another henchman, one who's a bit more bumbling than the cold-hearted killer of Metal Sonic or the Honorable Knuckles, would help with pacing a bit. For those who don't know, Fang is a hired gun in the games. He doesn't even realize how much power the Chaos Emeralds have. He's just collecting them for a paycheck. And we're going to go with that here, but based on how his name got a little lost in translation a few times, I thought making him a man of mystery would work out well. Sometimes he's going by Fang, other times he's going by Knack, maybe he's going by a completely new name at times. Just whenever you come across him, you're not 100% sure what name he's under and what personality he's working with. That said, we'll be moving on next to the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald. I'm going to make a few changes here. Specifically, that the Chaos Emeralds will have a power on their own from the very beginning. Nothing like the Infinity Stones, where just having a single one gives you power over a specific kind of fundamental force. More or less just like when you have one, you can use it to boost your base power. And the more you have, the stronger you can get. But the boost does not last forever. I will also be using the Super Emeralds in Season 2, and I'll explain why when we get to them. All of that said, the next thing we need to talk about is the setting. In terms of setting, like I said at the beginning of the video, we are normalizing the inhabitants to all be more or less like Sonic. Not super fast, but animals instead of humans. And in terms of setting for Season 1, we'll mostly be having it set around Green Hill with Little Planet hanging overhead. As for Season 2, the setting is obviously going to be Angel Island, since that one's primarily based off of Sonic 3. I'll go over each individual setting for each season when I get to them in their own videos, but for now, Green Hill, Little Planet, and Angel Island. I want it to really feel like a fantastical land that would be a little odd to live in, but the people in the world have lived there all their lives, so they don't really see any major problems with it. Next, we'll be talking about the super forms. In terms of super forms, yes, we'll be seeing Super Sonic, Super Tails, Super Knuckles, and Hypersonic in the first 2 seasons. Though, with a caveat, the Super Sonic form will only be using 6 Chaos Emeralds. And so it'll be unstable, not 100% there, and burning out way quicker than the normal super form. In addition to that, Hypersonic will also burn out way faster than any of the other forms in the series. I really want the super forms to feel like a genuine upgrade, as opposed to it's Sonic, but his hair is spiked up and he turned gold. making him feel faster, feel stronger, putting a major emphasis on the feeling of the form as opposed to just the visuals. And all of that said, let's get into Season 1. Season 1 at its core is going to be a pretty basic plot, but very by the numbers. It's pretty much here just to explain what the Chaos Emeralds are, what the world is like, give us an introduction to our characters, and the core plot points are, at the beginning of the season, we get an expositionary episode explaining that several characters who had Chaos Emeralds, like Sonic, Amy, and Eggman, noticed that the Chaos Emeralds started going crazy. Eggman makes his way to the little planet, causing destruction in his wake, and Sonic came after him. Until they make it to Little Planet, and in the final couple episodes, it comes down to a massive fight, Sonic in his base form versus Metal Sonic, and then going head-to-head with Eggman and a super robot, pretty much defeating him. Something to note is that Eggman believes at this point that Little Planet is a weapon that is powered by the Chaos Emeralds. And when he gets to the core of the weapon to turn it on using the Chaos Emeralds, he notices that there are spots for 7 Chaos Emeralds and not 6. Up to this point, everyone had believed that there were only 6, and they don't know where number 7 is. In the end, Sonic uses the 6 Chaos Emeralds to beat Eggman, and he and Tails follow him off into the distance for Season 2, and Amy stays behind to clean up any messes left behind by Eggman, and that will lead us right into Season 2. Something else to note is I'm continuing the song format by making it clear. I want to make it clear that I wanted to add an intro, an opening to every episode of the season. And I'm also going to be pulling these intro songs from Sonic's various games, specifically wanting them to relate to the specific game that I'm adapting. In this case, with the classic series, and this plot in particular, taking elements from CD 2 and 1, I decided to go with the American version of Sonic CD's opening, Sonic Boom. So, here, take a listen.
It's a supersonic flight, gotta keep it going. Sonic boom, sonic boom, sonic boom, it's running fast. Sonic boom.
Season 2's plot is going to be roughly the same as Sonic 3 and Knuckles' plot. Sonic and Tails show up on the island, get their butts kicked by Knuckles in the first few minutes, and then play a game of Monster of the Week until we eventually reach the finale where we get some of the really good stuff. A 100% full-bore rematch between Knuckles, who it's revealed had the 7th Chaos Emerald all throughout Season 1, as well as had the Master Emerald. He just didn't go to Little Planet because he had to defend the Master Emerald. It's his job, after all. And in this full-bore rematch, Knuckles loses to Sonic, and then Eggman plays his trump card, the Death Egg robot alongside Mecha Sonic, a new and improved version of Metal Sonic. At this point, Knuckles and Tails will use the 7 Chaos Emeralds to achieve their super forms temporarily, and defeat Mechasonic, but the Death Egg robot starts drawing on power from the Master Emerald and beats both of them. It's at this point we have Sonic connect with, who's unconscious at this point, from a fight with Mechasonic and the Death Egg robot, connect with the Master Emerald and all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds, transforming them into the Super Emeralds, and then we do a bit of setup for Season 3 with Sonic seeing a giant sea monster roar, and then he taps into the power of all 8 of the Emeralds at once and achieves Hypersonic, defeating Eggman rather handily, but when all is said and done, the 7 Chaos Emeralds scatter in all directions off into the distance, and the Master Emerald is very cracked and rough. And that is where Season 2 would end. In terms of a theme song, we are going to be using Sonic Boom again. But something that some of you may know is that Sonic Boom has 2 verses that can sound like 2 completely different songs. We'll be using verse 2 for Season 2. Go ahead and take a listen.
Time is now, we get high, find the power deep inside and make it happen. Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, love keeps you running faster.
At the end of it, I think that this is the best way to adapt these 4 specific games. In the future, I intend to cover pretty much the entire library of 3D games, with some exception. I hope to see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Later.